Well, good morning, everyone. We have 2 more weeks. Playoff is in full mode. And hey, look, there's only a couple weeks before we get a chance to talk about this. Jed, you are looking very relaxed in your hoodie. Jim is over in Payson, Arizona. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Welcome to hopefully your playoff. Hope everyone's doing well and exciting week, man. A lot going on, and last night's game was really good.
Did you watch it? Did you guys watch the game last night, guys?
I wasn't watching live, but I was getting all the stats because I had both Puka playing and Kieran Williams, and I was like, "Oh man, this is perfect."
I watched the second half, but I got to admit, I ended up turning to the Bulls versus Spurs game because the Bulls have really intrigued me recently.
That's because they don't have Zach LaVine anymore, and now that Kobe White has emerged as that number 2 scorer, they're actually a better basketball team without LaVine.
Well, but going into basketball, a lot of times quickly going to basketball, the ball moves so much better with the Bulls right now, and it's more fast-paced versus giving to Zach, dribble, drive, shoot, miss, and then start running again.
Oh, I've never been a fan of Zach. I've said from the beginning he's too one-dimensional. So great scorer, but that's all he is.
But don't you think about it? Like one player can make a difference on a team. You know, because they've been winning ever since he's been out, and now the question is, what is their team going to be like when that person comes back?
Yeah. Hey, that's just like our fantasy teams, though. One guy can make all the difference. You have one superstar on your lineup for the week, and all of a sudden you can win. So one guy makes a difference.
Hey, speaking in our keeper league, I'm playing Jimmy. You're in the semifinal playing Chris, and one of us will be playing the championship game.
Well, I'm a little worried because last night Puka Nacua had 9 of 11 targets, 164 yards, and a touchdown. Actually, Tom, I was going to ask you, would you keep him in your dynasty next year?
Yeah, definitely. You shouldn't be dropping Puka at all.
Yeah, there is no way. I am so excited about Puka. Look, I mean, Matthew Stafford has gotten a resurgence because he is so good right now.
So in that league right now for us guys, the one, I don't know if you noticed, but the thing that I've been struggling, so on our flex, I've been having to pick between Addison or Connor. James Conner, running back for Arizona, or Addison in Minnesota, who had been doing just so until he blew up last week. So that's been the big debate for me. It's like, who do I pick between those two?
Because you know why? I mean, what do you call it? Nick Mullins is not a bad quarterback.
No, not at all. He's a top. In fact, if you need a streaming quarterback, he is one you should take a look at. Geno Smith is another streaming quarterback you should take a look at. And it's too late now, but Derek Carr, I had Derek Carr sitting on my bench, but man, he put up numbers yesterday. He had 24, 25 fantasy points. So
yeah.
Yeah, you actually have a pretty good team. Are you going to play Brock Purdy over Tua?
Yeah, that was the other choice, was Purdy over Tua. I am, because I just like the Purdy Ayuk connection. And if you look at Tua's numbers, he's really hot or cold. Like he's either super hot or super cold. And so I kind of felt like I want a little more steady presence. But both are tough because Tua's playing Dallas and Purdy is playing Baltimore. So that could be a really tough matchup. So yeah, I had a hard time picking between those two.
Yeah, the hard part is Baltimore's defense is so good, and I can see them really working hard on limiting Purdy. And so for me, I was like, at this point, I might take a chance on Tua before Purdy, but Purdy's been pretty consistent.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, he's MVP candidate, right? You look at Purdy, everyone's talking about him in the MVP race. So yeah, I've been flip-flopping between the two. If you look at the rankings, they're right next to each other. They're basically 6 or 7 or 8 of your top 10 QBs for the week. So I don't know. We'll see. I might flip right before, but we'll see.
Jim, here we are playing against in the semifinals. You're starting Browning as Cincinnati against going against Pittsburgh as well too. The only one that I'm really concerned about, Christian McCaffrey. If he goes off, but he is playing the Baltimore defense, and also you have Bijan Robinson. Look, the guy got 0.9 points. Ritter is not starting as quarterback. I'm hoping he has another dud game, which I think he'll actually do better, but I'm hoping for a dud game.
I'll tell you this, next year, I'm going to invest in a quarterback pretty high, because if Browning is my quarterback going into this thing, I'm thinking, because here's the thing, I was thinking about playing Murray, but Murray's playing the Bears, and the Bears defense is actually pretty good, and they're playing in Chicago where it's going to be cold. Arizona really doesn't have much of a chance.
Yep. Hey, Jed, I'm looking at Jimmy's lineup. He got so desperate, he is playing Curtis Samuel over Calvin Ridley.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's tough. But that's the only
No,
thing I
Curtis Samuel's actually pretty good. He's come on the last few weeks,
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
That's not. Yeah, I agree there. I think the only thing. Well, I don't know. Really, yeah, that's a tough call, Jimmy. And
Which
Curtis Samuel, they're playing in New York. It looks like it's calling for rain too, so you got to pay a little bit of attention to that.
and the Jets
I,
have great pass defense.
yeah, I don't know. I might go with really there. The guy on your team that's really tough is Eckler. Eckler's been so bad. He has been so bad. That's the guy that I'm actually benching him in another league that I'm in the playoffs because he's just not been very good.
No, I mean on paper, when I first started the season, it looked good, right? But Pollard has been inconsistent. Eckler's been inconsistent. Bijan's had his moments as well too. McCaffrey's the one person that's carried me this entire time.
Yeah.
Hey, at least you were able to survive Bijan Robinson's 0.9 points. A lot of teams did not survive his 0.9 points.
Yeah. It's a good matchup for them this weekend against Indianapolis, which, speaking of which, if you have Jonathan Taylor on Indianapolis, he has been shooting up all the rankings because it is pretty clear he's going to play and have a lot of the carries against Atlanta. So if you have Jonathan Taylor, I'd be getting him into your lineup.
Yeah, I think Zach Moss is still dealing with that shoulder injury.
Yep.
And so, I mean, I thought Taylor's going to be out for most of the season and Zach Moss was going to take over, but it does seem like Jonathan Taylor is going to be the starter this week.
Yeah, in some leagues, I know he was dropped. So some people really, lucked out when he first took that injury or had the surgery.
Yeah.
Hey, before we go into news notes, a quick question. Do you guys like these Saturday games that the NFL is doing right now?
I used to like them. I don't like them anymore because I've been really paying attention to college football. I don't know if it's because my son's in college, my oldest son's in college now, but I've been paying to college football. So usually my Saturdays, that's what I'm watching.
Yeah, and I also it hurts my red zone viewing because I like so many games on red zone, and now there's not that many. And then this Monday, there's 3 Monday Night Football games.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard it, but that's something that they're testing out is doing multiple games on Monday night right now. I don't know if I like that because you're literally going back and forth. Like if you watched the Peyton and Eli show last time, they literally were trying to go back and forth watching both games.
Like red zone. That's it's a little much.
Versus, I like back in the old days, Monday Night Football back-to-back games. So you just knew that from 5 o'clock all the way to 10, you're watching football.
Agree. I like that better.
Well, and then this week, the Bills game for Bills versus Charger is on streaming on Peacock. And so for people who don't have Peacock, like you're kind of screwed.
That hit me actually. I was trying to watch a Purdue basketball game. It was only on Peacock. I was like, oh man, I don't have Peacock. The other thing though, I was thinking from the NFL perspective, the reason they might like 2 games Monday night not back to back, but at the same time, it protects them from a dud game. So if one of the games is really bad or a bad matchup, right, then you can just direct everyone to the other game.
Yeah. So, okay. Hey, quickly, Kyren Williams, 22 rushes, 104 yards, touchdown. He scored close to about 16 fantasy points. Would you say he's one of the best pickups this year on the waiver wire for most people?
Oh, the two, Nakua and Kyren Williams. I mean, even for my team, they have led me all day. Achane as well, too. The only problem I have with those guys is they got injured for the majority of the time. So I wouldn't say he's the best pickup, just because he was injured for a long time and it hurt my chances. Both him and Achane really kicked me out of the playoffs with their lack of availability.
Yeah, but you're keeping those guys, right? Kyren Williams and Achane, there's no way you're not keeping those guys.
No. Kyren Williams is such a good runner, and Nakua, as Cooper Kupp gets old, you're going to see Nakua continue to elevate.
Yeah, no, that's good. And then Alvin Kamara did not do much at all. He was hovering close to about 5 fantasy points, finally finished like 7 to 8 fantasy points, only 9 rushes, 19 yards, received 16. For a lot of people, it's the same as last week, when Bijan Robinson was on. For a lot of people who have Kamara on there, he didn't do much.
Well, plus at the same time, if you look at Kamara, I don't think even going next year, he will drop down to the 4th round or something like that. He is not an elite starter anymore.
Yeah, it's a little bit of the changing of the guard when you look at Kamara and then Derrick Henry. Those are the 2 guys where, great talents before, but they're really on the tail end now. They're starting to decline. And so, I mean, Kamara had some great games, but just also total duds like last week.
I would imagine, correct me if I'm wrong, Jed, you're not going to keep Derrick Henry next year, are you?
I don't
dynasty?
think so. I don't think so, but it's a tough call. I really value the running back position. It's nice to not have to chase the running back position. And so you guys know I dropped Dalvin Cook last year. And so it's a tough call because he's pretty much the only running back I could keep.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Jed, we're seeing the emergence of a James Cook. And next year, we're going to see J.K. Dobbins and Cam Akers coming back very strongly.
Yep.
Yeah. I will say, I mean, I know we're going to talk about James Cook later on. So earlier this year, I traded a Breece Hall for James Cook, and I was kicking myself because Breece Hall had a couple of good games. But I'll tell you this, I am glad that I got James Cook because James Cook has been so good for me the last few weeks.
Yeah, that's been an equal trade, I would say. Because at the time, I still would prefer Breece Hall over a James Cook, but you're right, he has been killer. I mean, and I don't know if that's made more just the Bills figuring out how to use him finally, but he's definitely been strong.
Yeah.
Oh, we're seeing a change in the guard, like what you said. We're seeing in terms of the Derrick Henrys of the world, Alvin Kamara of the world, the Joe Mixons of the world. They're just getting older, slower, all of that stuff. And now we're seeing these young guys like a Kyron Williams that could really catch. Jahmyr Gibbs, I think, will be an excellent runner.
Well, even the Kenneth Walker, if you watched him last week in the Monday Night Football, Kenneth Walker is really good. I mean, he's inconsistent. Like even this week, most likely they're saying that he may not play in Zach Charbonnet, but Kenneth Walker is amazingly good.
But at the same time, since Marshawn Lynch, when have Seattle running backs been consistent? They've always been injured.
Yeah.
Sean Alexander, man, my favorite Seattle Seahawk.
Yeah.
He was a good fantasy. Mine was always Priest Holmes as a fantasy running back because he was always good. Anyways, Cooper Kupp, 6 of 12 targets, 52 yards. Do you guys think that he's going to be wide receiver 1 next year or even going in the first or second round?
Probably third round.
Yeah, definitely not wide receiver 1. I would argue he may not even be. Well, I think he'll be top 10. He's not top 5. I can think of 5 wide receivers I want more than him.
Yeah, you probably go with Nacua as well too. You do have a 1A, 1B, and let's see how Matthew Stafford holds up. I mean, he had a great year, but let's see if he can hold up one more year.
And dude, don't forget Justin Jefferson was hurt. He's coming back. You've got Tyreek Hill. You've got Amon-Ra St. Brown. Dude, that's the guy I missed on. Amon-Ra St. Brown has been awesome, man. That guy is solid.
Yeah. Yeah. My biggest regret in a dynasty league, not putting Amon-Ra St. Brown in my dynasty league and putting Garrett Wilson on there. Because Amon-Ra St. Brown is so good. But Garrett Wilson, I thought he was going to have Aaron Rodgers, and that's why he was going to have.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't sleep on Garrett Wilson next year, man. With Aaron Rodgers back, Garrett Wilson's a stud.
But Jim, I benefited from Amon-Ra St. Brown. He is on my dynasty league, and he'll be there for a while. Hey, in terms of the Rams, one guy to watch. Yesterday, Demarcus Robinson, 6 catches, 82 yards, 1 touchdown. Von Jefferson, we've always been talking about this offense. Tutu Atwell was injured, so pay attention to him. 6 catches, 82 yards, 1 touchdown for Demarcus Robinson.
Hey guys, the other thing I was thinking about. So Tommy's team last year for the dynasty was okay, but wasn't that good. It is an interesting how fast you can really grow a dynasty to become good. Because now that he's picked up Amon-Ra St. Brown, Puka, he's picked up Tom. Who's your running back? Oh, Kyron Williams. He's gonna go in next year with a pretty good team. And things can change so fast because my team I thought was going to be good, but now I've got some weaknesses with Tony Pollard. I've got some weaknesses with Eckler. And whereas I thought I had a really strong team, may now turn out to be somewhat weak in certain areas.
Yeah, I think you really do. I love this about dynasty leagues. Like on the one hand, yes, you can have some solid cornerstones, but you got to be willing to shift. I mean, you guys know I had Dalvin Cook and Derrick Henry carried me, but then I had to shift, and fortunately got Tyreek Hill. But you have to shift your strategy. But the good thing is, even if you don't have great keepers, and even if you don't have a great draft, if you follow the free agent pools, and that's why I really like that we keep our bench short in this league, right? I think our bench is like 4 players or something. That lets you still be able to build your team through the free agent pool.
No, I mean some because the waiver wire. That's where some people were picking up Zach Charbonnet or a Kyron Williams. That eventually, or Puka Nacua, right? No one was drafting Puka Nacua early on in the season.
Exactly. That's why. See, our bench is 4, and I don't recommend places have more than 4, especially because we got 12 teams, right? Or we got 10 teams or 12 teams.
10 teams.
Yeah, 10 teams. Yeah.
And Jim, if you look at it, I was stuck with Devontae Adams, who really did nothing for me. Javonte Williams, Damian Pierce, who literally did nothing for me. But the guys who carried me out was all of the guys I drafted. James Cook, Achane, Nacua, and even Adam Thielen were the ones who carried me.
Man, Devontae Adams is an interesting one. What do you do with that guy next year? I don't know. I mean, he's still obviously talented, but boy, the whole quarterback situation, I don't know.
But Las Vegas will be tempted come draft day to trade him over to the New York Jets. I would not be surprised if he gets traded.
Man, if he goes to the New York Jets, that's wow. Yeah, I agree. That's a good play.
Yep.
Not that we're talking about Tommy's team, but I'm just looking at it right now. Tom, you're going to have a hard decision. You might not be able to keep an Achane, right? Because you're going to have to keep a Nacua, a Cook, a CeeDee Lamb, and most likely a Jalen Hurts. So the question then will become, do you want to keep a Jalen Hurts or not?
Correct. And definitely you're going to want to keep Jalen Hurts very well. Yeah.
I don't know. He hasn't been doing too well. They said that he's been sick the last few weeks, but he obviously was hurting last week in the Monday Night Football game.
Yeah.
No,
go ahead.
I'd keep Hurts, man. There's no way I'd drop Hurts. Hurts is top 5 for the next 5 years. So that's not a guy I would drop.
Jim, speaking of quarterbacks who have been struggling recently, even though he had resurgence and he did so well, Dak Prescott the last couple of weeks have really struggled to the point I was listening to the fantasy matchup over at ESPN. They were really debating Josh Fields against Arizona Cardinals or Dak Prescott because Dak Prescott has really had 2 stinkers in a row.
You mean Justin Fields, right?
Justin Fields.
Yeah, look, I think, if I'm going to choose between Justin Fields and Dak Prescott, I'm choosing Justin Fields.
Oh, yeah, all day.
They're in Chicago. They're playing Arizona. Arizona's got a weak defense. They're going to go hard. And Justin Fields, whatever happens to him in Chicago, he's playing for his future.
But over at Dak Prescott, you're saying?
Oh, yeah. Now, I would.
No, Justin Fields is a top 3 this week. If you've got Fields, you better be playing him. That guy has been playing well, man.
They're playing against Buffalo, and Buffalo's surging these weeks. Their defense is good. I think they're going to try to make a statement. They're going to try to stop Dak Prescott, and I actually think they're going to win.
Another player that I think would do really well because with Jamar Chase out, Browning throwing to T. Higgins against a Pittsburgh defense, I swear.
Oh, did you guys see T. Higgins touchdown, that catch where that was insane. That was such an athletic play. I kept watching that replay over and over. That was so amazing.
I think there's going to be, Tom, you're right. There's a couple people who are auditioning for new teams. T. Higgins is going to be one of them. He's going after free agent money. I don't know if Cincinnati is going to sign him, but I think this week he's going to put on a show, especially with Jamar Chase out. Yeah. And they're playing on Saturday, so he'll have all. I mean, and the Steelers have a weak defense, so I think he's going to go all out.
Hey, but I'm telling you, playoff season right now this week. Here are the guys that are out, guys. Trevor Lawrence looked like he's out. C.J. Stroud is out. Keenan Allen is out. Tyreek Hill, there's a good chance he might be out.
No, Hill's playing.
Hill's playing?
He's playing.
You're just hoping he's playing.
No.
You're hoping he's playing.
At limited practice on Thursday. He is playing. I have him in all my lineups. The dude is playing.
Yeah. I mean, look at all these guys. Keenan Allen, someone who you've depended on, they're out. And usually Keenan Allen is the guy who gets injured in the beginning of the year, who comes back and scores a bunch of points for you.
The other people who most likely might be out, Zach Moss for sure is going to be out. We're not sure about Josh Jacobs, but he hasn't been practicing this week. And Kenneth Walker has not been practicing. So there is a lot of ifs going into this Week 15 playoffs.
Oh, side note, did you guys hear about the Baltimore running back? Keaton Mitchell tears his ACL.
Oh, yeah.
He's good. I like him. He's good.
I like Keaton Mitchell. I mean, I like J.K. Dobbins, but all those guys in Baltimore keeps tearing their ACL. So
okay, let's see. Let's look at a couple Saturday games. Since you talked about it, Bengals versus Steelers. I was reading this. Who was it? It was some guy on ESPN was talking about
Ryan Clark.
Yeah, Ryan Clark was
Ryan
saying,
Clark,
why
former
is it
Steeler.
that all the Steelers wide receivers are always cancerous? Pickens, Brown, Schuster, there's always Plaxico Burris. There's always issues going on with those guys. Steelers are not doing well right now. Who are you guys looking at for that game?
If Mason Rudolph plays,
Oh,
look at George Pickens. At least he could throw better than Trubisky.
that's anybody could do. I don't know. I mean, like we talked about Browning, T. Higgins. I mean, there's a couple Bengals I like. I have stayed away from the Steelers ever since Jalen Warren went out. I have stayed away from the Steelers, so I'm not a fan of their wide receivers. I agree with the commentator. I don't think their wide receivers have been really consistent.
And Pickens is so talented, right? Like he was expected to be not wide receiver 1, but at least wide receiver 2. But he hasn't even registered that. And Jalen Waddle for a while was doing pretty good, but none of them are fantasy relevant right now.
The only thing is, though, that this game is probably going to be a shootout. I bet there's going to be a lot of points. That's the only thing that's kind of making me think, man, you know what? You pick up a Steeler. If you're desperate and you have a flex spot, pick up a Steeler and you might catch some of those points.
Actually, you know what? As you guys are talking, don't be surprised if Pat Fryermuth comes out and
There you
gets a
go.
lot of points and probably 60 yards, 2 touchdowns, or something like that.
There
So
you
the
go.
question, Jed, is: are you going to play him versus Likely?
Oh no! I like Likely has been so good.
Likely's been good. Likely's been good.
And Baltimore has really leaned on him, and so I'm really happy with Likely. Yeah, no, I'm not playing Freiermuth.
But there was always potential. Even last year, I mean, he had a couple starts where he didn't do well, but people always talked about how good Likely was.
Okay, hey, quick question, side thing. Travis Kelce or Sam Laporta next year? Tight end number 1.
I love Sam
Laporta. Laporta's so good.
Yeah, Laporta. I would choose Laporta over Kelce right now because Kelce has not done well.
I told you guys I felt bad this in my other league at work. One guy dropped Laporta during one of the heavy bye weeks. He just had no choice. Well, he felt like he had no choice. I swooped in, picked him up, and then basically the last game before the playoffs, his tight end got him like 2 points or something, and that's what kicked him out of the playoffs.
Hey, Jed, do the people you work with know you do a fantasy football podcast?
Yeah, so some of them I'm sure watch. I'm sure some of them watch.
Do they ever think that you have knowledge going into these leagues that most other people don't know?
Oh no, they all know that they're like. So I'm the defending champ, but it's a money league, so it's heavy money. So people are serious and into it. But I'm also the boss, so it's like you don't want to make me too mad.
Well, anyways, I'm hoping Browning will do good. Bills versus Chargers. Someone was saying this is when the Chargers usually win, when they're out of it, when everything is out and they're favored to lose, they end up winning. And so you might expect a decent game from the Chargers.
Yeah, but they have no one. Herbert's not playing. Eckler is the only one left standing. No Mike Williams, no Keenan Allen. I mean,
Palmer.
what?
You could throw a Palmer in there maybe. But no, I agree. And guys, remind me next year when we're starting up our podcast again, not to buy the hype into the Chargers. I've gotten burned by the Chargers so many times because you think their offense is going to be so good. But man, it has been so disappointing.
But I am interested to see who they hire as their coach.
Yeah, hopefully they can turn it around.
What if they hired Jim Harbaugh for San Diego? Can you imagine if they did that?
Yeah, that would be cool.
Oh, and speaking of Jim Harbaugh, did you guys see yesterday's news? They have some major violations coming against Michigan Harbaugh.
Wow.
I think Harbaugh's on his way to NFL. My guess is he's going to try to win a championship, and he's out because they're coming hard after him. He must have pissed off all of those Big Ten NCAA guys because those guys are relentless against him.
It's good college football games too for those of you watching out there. It's going to be an exciting.
But I was hoping. I mean, now you have UT against University of Washington. I was hoping to see Michigan and Alabama on opposite sides because that's what I wanted to see in the college championship game.
Yeah, no, basically that is the championship. So I mean, I think UT is. I'm really biased against UT guys. I think they're overrated. I think they could beat Washington though, and the real test is Michigan and Alabama.
Oh, I was looking. I said, how in the world did Washington do so well for them to be in the championship game?
Yeah.
Yeah, I really wanted UT against Michigan against UW and UT against Alabama.
Yeah, remember that this is the last year it's going to be just 4 teams. So next year it goes to 12 teams. It'll be a lot better. You'll see really quality matchups at the end. But we'll see. UT is one of the teams I hate. Alabama is the other team I hate. So if those two get in, I might not watch the championship.
I think the hard thing about college football these days is transfer portal. NIL has changed that so much that I don't even know how some of these other teams in college football are going to compete.
Oh, they were talking about Manning's nephew is getting $3.2 million to be a backup over at UT. Brock Purdy, as a starting quarterback, is getting $820,000.
Yeah. Oh, you've got NILs that are in the 10 million range. Marvin Harrison Jr., they're trying to get him to stay 10 million. That's serious money.
Yeah.
All right, Sunday game, Lions versus Vikings. I think there's going to be some points that are going to be scored there. I think Jamar Gibbs is going to do well. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is doing well. Goff is doing amazing. I think Justin Jefferson is going to be good. But who do you guys playing? Alexander Madison or a Ty Chandler?
I think Madison is still out, so I will go with Ty Chandler.
Yeah, agree. I think it also, too, for those of you who are still playing Montgomery, I still like Montgomery, man. That guy sneaks in for a touchdown. He still gets you pretty solid points. If you've been holding on to Montgomery at this point, and they ride him, it really depends on gameplay. If the Lions, as expected, are winning this game and are ahead, Montgomery will get major carries. If they fall behind, then they'll really rely on Gibbs a lot more.
Yeah.
But don't you guys think that right now Jamar Gibbs is the starter and Montgomery is almost like 1A?
Oh yeah, Montgomery is like the goal line back basically, but he's had a really good season. If you look at his numbers, I mean, he's right on. I think he's like right at 10.
Yeah.
If you look at the season.
And Detroit does a great job. Look at last year with Jamal Williams with 13 touchdowns. They just do a very, very good job with these short yardage running back. David Montgomery is faster, leaner, and younger, and I think he does a great job. I would probably pick him very high again next year.
Just to let you know, Alexander Madison has been practicing this week. There has been no decision as to who the starter is, but there's been some talk that they're leaning to keeping Ty Chandler as a starting running back.
Yeah, but either way, who are you going to play, and who do you even like? Unless you're really desperate, there's no one I'm playing.
See, Madison and Tony Pollard are really good examples where sometimes you think the number 2 back is, or AJ Dillon, like you think the number 2 back, if he was the number 1 guy, he would be like double his current output, but actually it doesn't always work that way.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this, the person who I don't know whether or not to play is Addison, right? He could have a very good week, or he could just have like single-digit fantasy points because Justin Jefferson out there. So if you guys have Addison and you have to win, would you guys play him?
Oh, yeah, with Nick Mullins as quarterback, look, you have no running back game. Justin Jefferson, their best corner, will be covering Justin Jefferson. And so a lot of times I would probably – look, Brian Branch will probably be on Justin Jefferson. I'd probably go with Jordan Addison.
That's why I told you guys see I have him. I'm deciding between Addison or James Conner. I also have Jordan Palmer sitting there, but I don't think I'm going to use him. So it's either James Conner, running back, guaranteed touches against the Chicago defense, who's very good, or Addison, who was super hot last week, but could also be totally cold and get you just 2 or 3 points. Like Conner, I think I can guarantee he's going to get maybe 8-9 points, but Addison could get 20.
Yeah, so yeah. And the thing is, right, we're looking at Cards versus Bears. Cards are coming from Arizona, playing in Chicago weather. That usually doesn't fare well when a warm team goes into a cold area, and the Bears defense is really good right now.
Yeah. And honestly, Arizona is out of the playoffs. The Bears are thinking they have a wild chance. Arizona's, I mean, they want a good draft position, all right?
I would like Arizona to lose, but they won't lose. I think the Bears are going to win, but I would like Arizona to lose this week. Okay, Cowboys versus Dolphins. Do you guys think that Cowboys are going to win, number one? And then number two, who's going to have better fantasy day, CeeDee Lamb or a Tyreek Hill?
Man, I hope Tyreek Hill. I think Tyreek Hill is still going after the records. So that's why I'm very confident he's going to play, and I think they're going to feature him. So I expect him to have a really big game. But CeeDee Lamb, I expect the Cowboys all to play well too. The Dolphins defense has not been very good. And also remember, the Dolphins, as far as who's going to win, I bet you the Cowboys are going to win. Remember the Dolphins? Crazy stat. They haven't beat a plus 500 team the whole season. That like blew me away when I saw that stat. I was like, that's insane. So they can't beat the good teams. Dallas is a good team.
Yeah. And Jed, do you know who the Miami defensive coordinator is, right? Vic Fangio.
Oh, right. Former.
And so you're surprised a Vic Fangio defense is struggling a lot of times. Hey, look, I mean, Dallas has struggled a little bit the last couple of weeks. Their defense has only scored me under 10 points, maybe 5 or 6 points and all that stuff. I'm hoping for a pickup game from Dallas, all right? And for them to continue to really get in position for the playoffs.
I do think that in order for them to win, CeeDee Lamb is going to have to do well. I don't know if they're going to rely on Tony Pollard as much, but CeeDee Lamb and also Brandon Cooks is going to have to do well in this game.
Yeah. And my running backs for Miami, they're driving me crazy. I'm going with Achane, but Raheem Mostert keeps getting touches all the time.
Yeah, no, I love Mostert. I've got Mostert playing. He's been great. I actually, again, it's similar to the Detroit situation. I think that both running backs are playable in this situation.
Yeah, and unless you're very desperate, Brandon Cooks probably am not playing, but Jalen Waddle, I would definitely be playing him in my lineup.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Chad, did you draft Raheem Mostert? Did you pick him up off the waiver wire?
No, I drafted him. I drafted him very, very late.
Yeah. I would imagine he went in the last couple of rounds. He's one of the steals of the draft this year because no one was paying attention to him, and he's actually produced pretty. Him and the wide receiver Thielen. Thielen is, I think, those two, were pretty good draft picks. Yeah. All right. Sunday Night Football: Ravens versus 49ers. Who do you think is going to win? Because they're what, number one, number two. San Francisco's number one NFL rankings. Man. Baltimore's number 2 NFL rankings.
Yeah, I'm surprised. So just to go back one step, the Dolphins, Cowboys. The Dolphins are 1.5 favorite, 1.5 point favorites, but that means that Vegas actually thinks the Cowboys are going to win because it's in Miami, and normally you get 3 points. So Vegas is saying the Cowboys are going to win. But the Ravens 49ers, the 49ers are 4.5 point favorites. That's a lot. I thought for sure it'd be a 3 point favorite. That means Vegas really thinks that the 49ers are going to win for sure.
And Jim, just to let you know, it's the Monday night game, Baltimore and San Francisco. The Sunday night game is a doozer, New England versus Denver. That's going to be a boring game.
Oh, yeah. But I think Denver's going to win. But no, it's going to be bad. I think Belichick's on his way out. I think, I don't even know what's going to happen in New England these days.
No, yeah. But sorry about that. But going back to what you guys were talking about with Baltimore and San Francisco, I am just impressed with the Baltimore defense. And a lot of times that's my only concern. But yet at the same time, I'm hoping personally they're able to control Christian McCaffrey because I just need him to do average at best.
Yeah, whereas I want Brock Purdy and Brandon Ayuk to go off and score a bunch of points. But I will say this season, so going into the season, I thought it was clear that Ayuk was number one over Deebo Samuel. So that was one of my draft strategies, was that I could get Ayuk cheap because everyone thought Samuels was number one. I will say that by the end of the season now, Brock Purdy has finally really not just focused in on Ayuk. He spreads the ball around. I mean, he always spread the ball around, but Deebo Samuels has really emerged as number one the past few weeks.
Yeah. Even someone like a George Kittle is a decent tight end because he spreads around so much. Now, the bulk of everything is Christian McCaffrey, but still.
McCaffrey has been awesome. We told you guys in the beginning, number one, I think he's the fantasy MVP. I mean, the guy has been a stud. He's only missed a couple games, right? He hasn't missed that much time.
Yeah. And it does surprise me because when he was in Carolina, he had all these soft tissue injuries, especially with his calf hamstring. He has had nothing. I'm not sure if it's the medical doctors or something.
Because he's home.
Yeah, that's true. And he has done really, really well. He has avoided any major injury.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds good. By the way, this is aside for later on. Somebody asked me, who is a listener and runs a company. They said, "Can we be a sponsor of a fantasy league next year? So we'll put up the money, and you guys host the
Oh,
fantasy league, and we'll put up the winning money."
100%, man.
Right?
They
No,
can.
I actually thought that was a pretty good idea. I was like, look, if you can put up, let's say, even like
It-
$200 or $500, sure.
hey,
Let's do something.
and every week we will shout out the name of that league, man, because I would love that. No, I would totally love that. That'd be a lot of fun.
I think that would be fun to kind of host a couple of our own leagues and see if a couple of these people want to put up some money for some winning.
Yeah, that sounds good, man. I'm down. Actually, you know what you should do? What you should do is like tell that person they can put up the money and then let them fill, let's say, half the slots. And then the way they can fill it is, can you beat the fantasy podcasters? So can we back up that we have information and can play better versus like whatever person who's just coming in off the street and playing?
No, that actually would be fun, right? Like
Yeah.
if they can put up like $1,000, right?
Yeah.
And then there's the three of us, right? And then we find 7 other people.
Yeah.
That would be kind of neat.
Yeah, so we're basically betting that one of the 3 of us, of course, we got to control. You can't like have trades between us and things, but one of the 3 of us could actually win. I'd be down for that because I'm always like, to me, the marker of a good fantasy manager isn't that you win every year. It's impossible. There's like too much luck involved. But if you are consistently in the playoffs, you are definitely better than your average player.
Yeah. Now, at the same time, no matter how good you are, injuries will always derail your team.
Yeah, but you have to account for that. That's the whole thing. Is you got to know that the starting lineup I had week 1 is not going to be the starting lineup in week 16.
Yeah.
Well, and then
go ahead.
next year we're going to have to make sure that we start playoffs early. Otherwise,
yes,
we're doing playoffs on week 17 when no one's playing anymore.
Exactly. I hate that. See, this should be the championship week, but I'm in another league too, where next week is
yeah, that's true. Actually, this would be that because next week and the week after, most of these guys already have playoffs determined, and they're not. I mean, by now they're not going to.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. So, okay, well, we're good. Last week is our last podcast, right? And we can kind of review the season, look at playoffs, all that stuff.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah. And maybe we could do one final episode to talk about MVPs, all of that stuff, best player, all of that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. No, guys, I love this. It always blows me away how fast the season goes. But I love we've always said, we do this no matter what. I'd be looking up these stats and studying and like doing this regardless. So it's fun to just talk about it.
And then we have basketball to talk about after that.
Oh man, my team has been crushed by injuries, but I love having Wembanyama, but not having LaMelo Ball has been killing me.
Last week I played you, Jed.
I know.
I think I won 7-3.
Yeah.
But you have a whole bunch of injuries.
I know. I can't get. That's why I love my team, but I really paid the price. Getting Wembanyama and then spending all that money. I have no bench. My bench just sucks. So I'm basically playing for next year.
Jed, I think that's why I chose not to go with him this year because I was like, I kind of want to at least have a decent chance because I knew if I spent all my money on that one player, everybody else was just like people I'm picking off the waiver wire.
Yeah. But man, I love having him. When I watch him play, dude, it's so fun to watch that guy play.
Yeah. Hey, on my team right now, Klay Thompson, he's been terrible recently. But the last couple of games, 24 points, 6 threes, 28 points a game before that, 5 threes, 24 points, or before that, 4 games ago, 30 points, 8 threes. He's been coming on really, really well.
Yeah, it's been surprising how bad the Golden State Warriors have been. But Steph Curry's been turning it on. They're definitely starting to push, but it's been surprising. They're not that good.
And the guy that has been sitting in my IR for the longest time is now back. Ja Morant is now back, and that is a player that I am so excited to have.
Didn't he score? I think he scored 30-something points on her first game back.
If you guys didn't watch that game, it was a great game. He really took over in the third and fourth quarters, scored the game winner on basically a twisting. He spun in the lane 1-on-3 and scored the game winner layup. I mean, it was nuts.
The 2 players that were sitting there that picked up on IR and just sat in IR was Miles Bridges and Ja Morant, and they are now back, and I am so happy with my lineup.
Yeah, yeah, that was definitely a good pickup. John Morant, I mean, for those of you Chicago fans out there, he's the closest guy that reminds me of Derrick Rose. I mean, Derrick Rose, definitely the original, but John Morant, the way he drives and can just take over in the air, it's Derrick Rose like.
Yeah. Hey, let me pick your brain on something a lot of times. Jalen, I was talking with John Mann and Jalen yesterday, and we were having a podcast, and fantasy basketball came up. Jalen believes that a lot of times if you should sacrifice one or two stats and just load it up. If you're really good at assists and rebound, just keep picking players to load it up. I like more of a balanced lineup. John Mann will argue he looks at minutes played for all the players because he wants to find the most consistent. I am always looking at double-double and always having a balanced team to address my weaknesses. What do you guys think?
No, I agree with Jalen. Like I in basketball, if you're it's basically like a roto league, right? Like a rotisserie league where you've got at least 9 stat categories that count. There's no way you're going to be good at all 9. And so, and also most players, the way players work, they're not good at all 9. You can draft players who are multi-category, but really you do usually want to punt at least 1 or 2 of those stat categories and just not care about it. Free throws is usually the one. There's a lot of players who they're very good, but their free throw percentages suck. And if you're okay punting that one category, then you can focus on the others. It's just like in football. You can't be good at every single position in football. You've got to be willing to say, okay, I'm going to be weaker at quarterback or weaker at tight end or weaker at something, right? It's the same concept.
Yeah. Jim, thoughts?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, ideally, a guy like a Larry Markkinen or a Murray from Atlanta, those are just types of guys I like, that it's all around. But I agree with you, Jed. Like, you're going to have to give up trying to win on a couple of those categories. For me, it usually is like steals, free throw percentages. But I usually would try to go after field goal percentage, but steals and free throw percentages, I usually try to give up.
Yeah, but also then to your friend's comment about minutes played, I agree that that's something to look at. But the way I look at minutes played is kind of a minimum. So like, I don't like anyone below like 25 minutes. Like if they're in that 20 to 25 minute range, they need to be like plus that. So if they're below 20 minutes, then I usually that's the key. So but that is just like a baseline marker. It's not like you then say, oh, this guy plays 25 minutes, this guy plays 23 minutes, so the 25-minute guy is better than the 23-minute guy. And that doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Speaking of that, one of the players who sometimes falls under the radar, who fits so many of them, he gets rebounds, he gets points, he shoots threes, he gets block shots. Jaren Jackson for the Memphis Grizzlies fits everything. He is excellent. He's not really high or immensely popular, but I love a Jaren Jackson.
Yeah, he had a good game too with Ja Morant back, former Ohio State Buckeye, right?
Yep. All right, Jim, anything else?
No, I think so. Merry Christmas. Got a couple days. We've got a full slate of football games starting tomorrow, Sunday and Monday. So there's tons of football as we're sitting around with family all weekend.
Yep. And the NBA games on Christmas. So now suddenly you have NBA and NFL all on Christmas Day, which I am surprised that the NFL is doing Christmas games.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. The way Christmas fell this year kind of messed me up. It really is like kind of a different, I don't know, I guess it's once every 7 years, right? It hits its date, but it'll be fun. Happy Merry Christmas to everyone out there. Happy holidays, and hope everyone enjoys the week.
Oh, one last comment for you guys. Did you guys see the signing from the LA Dodgers, the Japanese pitcher?
Oh yeah.
Oh wait, shoot. They signed him?
Yeah.
When did they sign him?
700 million, guys.
No, because I was reading all these articles yesterday. They were saying, "Oh, the Cubs might do it and salvage their season."
No. Last week. It was last week.
Dodgers?
No, it was last week. Yeah, dude, Dodgers are going to be so good. 700 million, and go check out the way he structured his contract. It's really interesting. Basically, I think he's only getting paid like $2 million a year or something. It's like something crazy.
They were saying they're paying over $1 billion for 2 players, 2 Japanese players.
Yeah.
No, that's crazy. It's
totally worth it though, guys. Like we had talked about, there's pretty much no dollar figure that would have been too insane for Ohtani.
Ohtani, the Japanese pitcher. What's his name? I don't know. Yeah, the long time. Hey, by the way, I had to go see 2 donors, right? And I want to go, they are huge Dodgers fans. So I want to get them a Ohtani jersey. And the only place they had it was in the Dodgers team store. And these are replica jerseys, $190 each jersey.
Yeah, the Ohtani jersey already is the number. I was reading that. It's like the Dodger Ohtani jersey is already like number 3 or something across all sports. Like that's how fast how popular that guy is. But it's well worth it, man. I mean, I'm a huge fan. Like I think the guy truly is, at this point, I think he's the best Asian athlete like in history.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing how well he does. Now, the Dodgers may have, sometimes when you just overload the team so much, you stink. Look at the Mets last year. So I'm interested in seeing how they do.
Well, remember, he's not pitching at all next year. They've already said he's not pitching the whole year. He's just going to be hitting. So it's going to be weird. So the Dodgers aren't going to get to see him pitch for two seasons, basically, until the next second season.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, guys.
Have a good one.